Hello everybody, welcome back to 10 Minute Reviews. I'm Jason bringing you today's episode. So for today, I'm going to talk about an author I might have talked about in the past, but a different book and a new book. So definitely something new for you guys to read, but I think it's an absolute blast. Don't forget guys, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. We appreciate all that support. And to our patrons, we hope you guys are enjoying the RSS feeds, kind of our version podcast light sort of all the reviews stitched together. Eventually we will have a podcast for you guys, but that's down the road. But thank you again for your support there. So today I want to talk about Thorne, and his book, The Immortals Guide to Supervillainy, Volume 1. It's a long title. Guys, this is an absolutely fantastic book. This is a hilarious book. Absolutely hilarious. A lot of fun. Really funny. And it's different. It's different and has an interesting twist to things. So as always, I'm going to talk about four things. Well, most of the time, talk about four things. I'm going to talk about the world, the characters, the plot, and the writing style. So the world is modern-ish world. It's a world that is populated by beings with superpowers, hence supervillainy. And you've got your supervillains, superheroes, and it's pretty interesting. He builds this up and talks about how something like 80% of the population now has superpowers, but a lot of them are very, very weak. So they're you can turn your eyes different colors and turn your fingernails pink, stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't really make you any stronger than a normal person. Then you've got the ones that are strong, a little bit stronger than a normal person, then superhero level, and then destroy the planet level. And otherwise, you pretty much have modern technology, aside from what's been tweaked by some of the superpowers and supervillains and superheroes and the super intelligent characters. So you got some of that super technology stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Now the characters, there's really only one character that actually matters. It goes by the name Dr. Undying. Kind of hates that name, but it's sort of been stuck on him. Now this book starts out with him getting out of prison. But it's pretty interesting. He's got enormous resources because this is an immortal character who's been around for centuries. Centuries. He does mention that there are at least 4 or 5 other immortals that he knows of. And there, of course, could be more. Now, this particular twist to the immortality superpower is pretty cool because he can die. He can die, and then he just reappears right there. So this character is very, very science-oriented. It even feels that most of the superpowers are science-based. Of course, there are your magic superheroes, supervillains, but he tends to think there's some form of science behind that he just doesn't understand. He figures his own superpower deals with something on the quantum level, quantum entanglement, whatever it may be, and that's where his ability comes from. And he believes that most of these powers come from there. He's been studying science for, obviously, centuries, and in fact, that's what he went to jail for. He went to jail for about 40 years, and they end up showing, he ends up revealing later on, he went to jail for attempting to release a mind control virus out into the world. But in reality, he was seeing that the superpowered beings were becoming not even second-class citizens, but were almost becoming the enemy to the rest of the population. And he saw them being persecuted and eventually wiped out. So he used his mind control virus was actually a cover. What he was really doing was he released a second virus that just unlocked the superpowered gene for more people. So he went to jail for 40 years. But when he comes out, what he had tried to do succeeded. More people gained superpowers. The majority of the population now had some form of powers. And it's gone mainstream. It's gone accepted. And now they just become normal people. You might have a super-powered, superhero-level character that just kind of gets burnt out and ends up as a parole officer. Speaking of which, he goes on parole. Of course, when he gets released from prison, he's on parole. Now, being an immortal character with insane immortal resources, they don't want to just flat-out release him, so they put him on parole. They put him on parole, and they put him basically into a scared straight program. It's pretty funny. A scared straight program for supervillains. And he is supposed to mentor supervillains and try and get them, or borderline supervillains, and try and get them onto another path. Now, some there's just absolutely no shot of it happening. Others, well, maybe he can pull it off. And this is where we get into the plot. Now, once he comes out, of course, all the various tracking and stuff that's put on him, he's got enormous resources, so he has his own. He bought a new building that's got some defensive measures and no evil lab or anything like that, but he does intend to continue doing what he does. Now, he doesn't necessarily, he does consider himself a supervillain, but he has a different definition of supervillain versus supercriminal. And he has an ally. He has an ally, a rogue AI, that shows back up once he has been released. And as he is dealing with his parole, and it's pretty funny, this is, an immortal character with billions, if not trillions, worth of dollars in resources, and he's in an orange jumpsuit cleaning up trash in the park for community service at one point. It's pretty funny. But he ends up getting attacked, and he gets attacked by his own creations. Not even his own creations, his own doodles. Ideas he had that shouldn't work. Ideas that he had that didn't work or were just so stupid. Basically drunk ideas. When he talks about it, his notebook, his diary, his doodles, he almost every story related to him of, yeah, I came up with this while I was out drinking with so-and-so. I came up with this while I was drunk in France 200 years ago. They're pretty much all drunken doodles and stuff that theoretically didn't work, and all of a sudden it's working. It's working, he can't figure out why it's working and why these things are popping up. And especially since he turned it all over to the cops. So they go researching into it, his parole officer and the director of the agency research into it, and his doodles are missing. His doodles are missing, and he makes a deal. So he has, of course, very high-priced lawyers, and he makes a deal to be able to track this stuff down himself and get sort of a little deal on getting out of his parole, along with two of the ones that he is mentoring. He took two on that he thought have a lot of potential to eventually be the kind of villain that he thinks a villain should be, which in his world, supervillains actually help people. They just do it outside the bounds of the law and common morality. He will help the world even if it requires killing 1,000 people to help another million people. If he thinks the cops are corrupt, he doesn't necessarily believe in the law. He believes in just wiping out that police force. Things along those lines. If he thought a politician was bad, he would just kill the politician. So he wants to do the right thing, but he does it via his own methods. So he finds these two that he really likes. He thinks they have a lot of potential. So he takes them under his wing, and he works with the department eventually to track down his creations and who is using them, and end the problem. And it ties in a little bit with his past eventually. Obviously, I mean, they're using his creations a couple different ways, actually. A couple different ways with his past. It's pretty cool, because this book is absolutely hilarious. So if you like superhero books, if you like M.E. Thorne, if you like great dialogue, interesting characters, and a little bit of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, let's get it on, you enjoy this book. You absolutely enjoy this book. It's a lot of fun. M.E. Thorne is a great author. I've read a lot of his books. So The Immortal Guide to Supervillainy, Volume 1. I am desperately hoping there is a Volume 2. A lot of times authors will put Volume 1 into one of their books, and then it doesn't do all that well, so they just don't keep going with it. What I do like about this book is it is finite. It does have a beginning, a middle, and an end. He does end the main plot line going on here. So after you guys hit the like and subscribe buttons, guys, go check it out. The Immortals Guide to Supervillainy, Volume 1 by M.E. Thorne. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye now.